I was dancing because I didn't imagine living without dancing. Because I came with open heart and I just, we cannot carry the burden of someone not wanting. And I always feel that I owe to ballet to give back. Say give up, that's something I completely disagree. And recognition will come in one way or the other. The rewards come, but we don't chase them. I understood the price of a change also, but not only the price, but also rewards of the change. It's impossible only until the point that you try.
Welcome everybody to our new episode, where we are guests at a very, very beautiful house of ballet in Vilnius, Lithuania, and we are guests at the place where it all happens and where creativity goes always, together with Jurgita Dronina, who kindly welcomed us here to share some insights of the ballet world, but also, just to have a nice conversation about, how do we see it, how do we experience that, and how do we deal with ups and downs, and which we have in our career or just alive. So, for the one who do not know, maybe Jurgita, although I am sure you know that you will really know her from one or another angle, because Jurgita, you spend a lot of years abroad. So it might be even, that public somewhere else, like Canada, the Netherlands, which for me is very interesting, period, because I'm also Dutch, but also a British.
Yes, I was in UK as well.
But it all started here in National Ballet, and now you are back after years as artistic director of Lithuanian National Ballet.
That's correct.
So how does it all feel, and how it all started for you? The first steps probably in this environment, and then we will chat a little bit also about the change in role, because I can imagine it's big.
It's a big change, yet it's with a similar purpose.
Mm.
But firstly, thank you, Eva, for having me here today, having a honest conversation through Unspoken Ballet. And welcome to our beautiful Lithuanian National and Opera Ballet Theatre studio. I guess this is where art happens and this is where we create. So it feels quite a nice space to chat.
Definitely. For me, it's like already entering. I have rather big eyes, but they opened even more when we were going through these corridors, to come to this beautiful hall, and to be here, when you still smell kind of, that atmosphere, and, the dancers and how they prepare. And that made me think, now about dancers, that Albert Einstein, he said once, that ballet dancers are like athletes of God. So it was very interesting combination, actually, because he uses the dancer, he uses athletes, which I would not immediately think, that, it's not Olympics that we talk about. And then, the connection is God. So it's very, very divine, like he said. And I'm curious, what are your thoughts about that? So who are ballet dancers? Are they dancers? Are they more,
It's a beautiful expression
Mhm.
that I think myself I'm very careful about also, because yes, we're athletes. The physical demands that ballet requires are extraordinary and more scientifically proven that we cannot do just ballet. And in order to excel at what we do at ballet skills, we need to be physically prepared.
Mhm.
And more companies worldwide, they have strength training programs, trainers that are working specifically with ballet companies. And while being abroad for many years, I also trained with the um, trainers, the strength trainers, that made sure that my body's prepared for the workload.
Yeah.
Because what's very dangerous is to excelling at the skill underscoring with the physical ability, because that's when the injuries happen. That's where you don't feel like you can push boundaries and take yourself and what you're creating onto another level. You need a physical strength, because there is a point, or at least for me, it was the point where I wanted more than I could. And you feel inside that, but I want this so much. No matter how much work you put in a ballet studio, you reach a plateau where you don't grow anymore. In ballet, it's very difficult to measure the strength the way athletes measure basketball, hockey, you name it, football, um, anything. There are numbers. Discus thrower, there are numbers. You're better by each number. In ballet, it's subjective. It's how you feel. But by the quality you deliver on stage, that's our numbers. The performance is better, technically better, you jump higher, you turn better, you're stronger, you're leaner. It shows. And then that gives you more artistic freedom and more abandon to tell the story. And that's what I meant, that then you don't reach the plateau. Then anything you want to do, close your eyes and throw yourself and let go, your body can handle it. So yes, athletes for sure. And by God, yes and no. I think probably more yes than a no, but it's a careful expression, because I really don't want to sound like you have to be touched by God in order to do art, you know. I think we all have, every human has a gift in something, and that we must carry it, find it, and then deliver and express ourselves. So yes, you have to have a gift, for sure. But sometimes when I hear this phrase, I also feel like it sounds like as an entitlement. You know, I'm given, I'm talented. It's not. Daily grind, precision, work ethic, resilience, discipline, all of that has to be in place in order to release what you have inside it and that gift that you're given. So you cannot express in ballet, if we speak about ballet, you cannot express what you're given by universe or God, or we call it any name you want, gift, without having the body to deliver it.
Yeah. And the body needs condition. But that condition, I think, Jurgita, is very interesting now. Maybe because I'm thinking, you know, like the physical is kind of clear, mental part, like because I think that, you know, like when there is such a high ask from you as a human, and you know, like I also feel that ballet dancers in general, you know, they are very sensitive and empathic personalities, and you know they really want to give that. So it's like what they, you know, to meet all these expectations, but they are also people at the end of the day, you know, like living life, and you know, like combine all that. So I think mentally they also need to be strong. Is it also that part of like the overall training that they need to work on that mental strength, or is that physical helping also your mental? How's that?
Both.
Both.
I think definitely physical helps your mental health, because if you're physically strong and able to do the work that you love to do, it's helpful. But you need to train the resilience, because every situation at work, in your career, in any in a ballet artist's career, or any human career actually, requires resilience. But in ballet, it has to be such a awareness of your mental and physical health. It comes hand in hand.
Yeah.
Because you can be physically very strong, but lack that resilience mentally. And if the brain sends you a different message to the body, you won't be able to deliver. And there is a completely opposite way. Sometimes you don't feel like your body can push and manage that day or that show. you have a hard day, you have been sick or something, and you need to deliver, or something happened in your life, and you have a show and you need to deliver. That's where mental health comes in. And from my personal experience, it has been some of my best shows on those days when mental health and resilience overtakes the fatigue and you deliver your best performance. It's a game, but it's a self-awareness, and it's that emotional intelligence that you have to tap in. We have to motivate ourselves every day. There is external factors that you might be inspired by and boost your energy. I was like, oh, I'm so inspired today, gonna have such a good show or a day. But that's not motivation. That inspires you to do something. But self-motivation is the number one. So resilience, self-motivation, then comes discipline, which is my favorite part of the ballet, really. It's a self-discipline where you can overcome any issues or obstacles and then see the growth afterwards. It's quite incredible. At the points of make it or break it, you're like, I made it, and it had a great show, and you go with that incredible feeling in you that you've grown, you have achieved something that you didn't expect, you elevated yourself onto just yet another level. So all of that comes in ballet, but mental resilience is a huge part of it, and I think it enhances dancers' careers and happy careers, and gives that tool an opportunity to really have the best career possible for each individual, whatever that means. It doesn't mean stardom, it doesn't, but just to be here in a ballet company, you already have to be exceptional in talent, in skills, strength, and certain level of resilience. But it's not enough. It's just a starting point. Then you just have to keep on working on it. And I have to say, like, nowadays, the tools out there are endless. It's scientifically proven. We can find people in strength training, in mental health, in coaches and courses.
That's what I was also the most curious, like I was very carefully listening to what you said, that motivation has to come from us, which I do not disagree. It's just, like I also can imagine how difficult it is. Like, motivation from inside
Yes.
us, where our brain almost every day tends to tell us, like how many monsters are on our road,
Yes.
like, and how everything is,
Yes.
maybe dark colors instead of like the blue sky, which we have today outside. But that motivation, and now you are going to that, like you had a time where you had to do it yourself. How did you do it?
20 years of my career.
But how did you do it? Because I mean, probably like people who will listen to our conversation, they might also come from different environments. Like for example, I'm also coming from corporate environment. But this thing, like actually all of these elements and the physical and the mental and discipline, they all apply in my environment as well. But that piece of motivation is like, like I'm so curious, how did you do it when you didn't have all these tools what we have now?
I always return to one very important question. And as we speak about the ballet, I will shift to ballet.
Yeah.
But I think any human being can relate to that. When you choose a profession that you want to be in, that's the first question. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Actually, I was dancing because I didn't imagine living without dancing. So it's not like, oh, I can live my life without art or ballet in particular. I didn't imagine. I needed it. When you need this profession to feel human, to feel that you belong, to feel that you're part of the bigger picture, part of the world, part of the community, part of something, I don't know, a message that you carry inside and you want to express. It's self-expression as well, but then you find your motivation. Ballet is so hard that if you don't have the need to live and breathe ballet, if you don't have that need as a human being, if you don't need ballet in your life to exist, then I would ask one more time a question: why are you doing this? Because it's so hard, and you get into your monsters, and And we all have them. Let's not be delusional. We all have them in any profession. But art cannot be created without the monsters. That's another thing. Every obstacle, every monster that you encounter, you have to look it at, not like I teach, but out of my personal experience. You face it and you say, is it an obstacle I can overcome? Yes. How do I overcome? I find solution. That's some kind of a motivating factor that's always been to me. If I'm given this obstacle or monster or however you call it, or a challenge, there has to be a solution to overcome it. And once you overcome it and you find a solution, then there is no problem. Then you carry on and you learn something from every experience, whether positive or negative. But most of the time, fortunately or unfortunately, is the difficult lessons in life and the hard choices you have to make that makes you grow as a human being, as a person, as an artist, and you create a better art. Because you need experience in order to express. Ballet is, when I rehearse with the dancers, maybe I'm going to jump a little bit off. When I rehearse with the dancers, I'll always say that it has to come from meaning. So it's first is a thought, then a thought brings the feeling, and the feeling comes through expression of your body. You cannot say something, it's empty. It's completely empty. It has to be thought, feeling, and body movement. Then for me, it's ballet and art. So that holy trinity to me is what, for my personal experience, made ballet relevant, important, and something I couldn't live without. It's the expression. I loved it. And maybe sometimes I would like inspiration, but not the motivation. Every day I would go to work. I knew why I'm doing this, because I cannot live without it and I need it like air.
And I mean, I'm not sure if cameras will, overbring that, but I'm listening to you, and I assure, like you really, like you spark that, what you say now, because it really feels, like that's the unity for you. That's your unity for which you wake up and you go and you do what you do. And I think we will, I'm very curious, like about that part, that you are now artistic director of this big group, and very important for Lithuania. It's like it's a piece of history that actually you are creating together with, with your dancers and musicians and the entire team, and the vision that you can have, which will bring Lithuanian National Ballet to probably next generation and next level and everything. So it's like, but and maybe I will connect it now a little bit also again back to my corporate, but I think there might be similarities, but that's also my curiosity question would be, because in my environment I used to also be in a role, comparable to yours, just not art, but where, like you can feel these days when it's like Lonely Planet, where you feel like how much I love, and like motivation is there and everything, but I feel I will never be good enough for everybody. And and you still want to be that good for everybody. And how do I do that? And like, how do I go home knowing that today I probably didn't make somebody happy, you know? So do you also have it in ballet environment, or is it not happening? It's just, like it can be. It can be.
It would be a lie if I would say it's not happening, and we're not here for that, right? You touched up on quite a few very important topics. Firstly, the transition. Everything I spoke before in this interview is from the perspective of a ballerina, of a principal ballerina, and what it means to come to work, to dance, and to create. So as an artistic director, I take myself out of equation completely. It's not about me anymore. It's about the art form.
Yeah, but is it easy? Was it easy for you to do that? Because I can imagine, like you made that career, like on a stage, like that unity, and now you say, but I need to take that away.
It's still the same purpose. It's still the same purpose. The purpose is the same. the role is different, and the purpose is the art form. How my second chapter now is more about protecting the art form. First one was searching for tools to deliver and to work with people, something I know works, something I know that will keep on pushing this art form forward. Because if we don't give back, and that's where the full circle comes back, how does it feel to be back here? I never danced here as a ballerina, but I returned here to start a new career for the country, for the people, for the culture, for this company, that I can elevate this company to for 100th anniversary of the Lithuanian Ballet, to take a new step. So that's what I'm saying. The purpose is the same. The purpose is, what can we give to this art form, to ballet? What can I give to a new generation? How can I uphold the standards? How can I maintain the standards that I've been upholding all my career? I'm here to give tools for people to succeed. And then it's up to each person either to take them and go, or not to take them and stay where they are. It's not up to me anymore. And when you're a dancer, everything is up to you. So that's another big difference. When it's up to a dancer, it's up to me to find a motivation. It's up to me to source out the tools that I need to grow, to succeed. And it's up to me to read, to educate myself. You put that responsibility on yourself and accountability, but I put the same onto the dancers. I give them freedom to use it because it's there, but it's their responsibility to use it or not.
That's a very nice, like Rich, that you say that responsibility. So it's like, like we spoke a lot about discipline, how important it is. And, but responsibility, that's what I think for all of us, no matter what we do and where we are. So even this, in this heavily loaded art environment as ballet, it ends up to the person and
Yes.
personal responsibility.
Yes.
And that's what it is. And it took me time really to understand that what you are now seeing, because I was really going home and I was like, like thinking and feeling I didn't give, but then I also woke up with that, but no, I can give what I can give.
Yes.
But it's on like everything in life that we do, it's choices.
Yes, it's a choices. And you have to give those choices as we're given choices by somebody. And I will share one story shortly. It's my responsibility to, and accountability too. That's another one. I'm given the responsibility to take care of this growing environment that I've come to lead, right? And but I do take accountability that I must give those tools and I must leave them freedom. All I can do is to give a choice to use what's given. It's their choice, their responsibility. But the story, it's funny. It's very unplanned as it happened. Spent time with Natalia Makarova in Oslo, and when I saw her, I gave her a really strong hug, because it's a person who opened the doors of my career, really, who has given me my first principal role. It was Nikki in Lebader. So I hugged her and I said, Natasha, I am so grateful for the career I have, because you were that person in my professional career who opened the door. I came with open heart, and I just, and I look and it's like, I didn't do anything. I'm like, yes, you did. She's like, no, I just guided you and I gave you a choice to take what I'm giving or not to take. And it clicked to me. And obviously, now resembling what we're speaking about. And it put me back down to earth. And I said, you know what, Natasha? Actually, nobody had put it in words. I felt it. I lead this way. I think I'm doing this, but nobody has voiced it. Just that simple. It's like, I did nothing. I just gave you the tools and you took it. I said, you know how many people didn't take it? I'm glad you had a good career.
But that's a beautiful one because it's a real one. You
It's
know,
a real that happened
it's
now.
yeah.
Now, when you're in that position, you have a strong belief in what you do. Otherwise, you cannot be in a leadership position. You have to be so disciplined, so motivated, and have that resilience, again, a mental clarity, shutting off the noise and just go by clarity. This is what I'm doing. This is my vision. This is the way. This is the structure. This is the system that bonds it all. And keep clarity in your head. And that feeling of I'm giving, I'm giving, I'm giving sometimes make you the lonely person that you don't know how many people are taking what you're giving. And I will never know. I'll see it later. Like Natasha saw me after 20 years. She saw that what she was giving later. And maybe what I'm giving to the company, if out of the whole company of 72 dancers, let's say, I don't know, 2 or 3 are gonna take it, 2 or 3 they're gonna take it fully on board as I took when I was 18 years old. You know what? They'll be the next generation to carry that purpose that we started to talk about, why artistic directorship is so important to me after dancing. And I don't feel sad that I stopped because it took another level of purpose. And if 3 or 4, maybe 5 out of 72, are going to take all the tools that they're given and carry that passion to when they're going to retire and carry on that into the roles of artistic director or a repetitor or something else with the ballet or art, as long as it serves the purpose, I can be, 85 and meet them after and say, you know what? I did nothing.
No, so nice, to hear that. It's exactly that, like we can open doors, but we cannot. Or like in British like to say, I can bring the horse to water, but I cannot make it drink.
Yes.
And that's, like all of us have
Yeah.
the choice. But when we dare to choose, then we also need to understand it goes with responsibility.
Yes.
And many, are a bit scared maybe of that responsibility feeling because sometimes it's so easy to live, without responsibility.
I don't know. I never had that.
No, I mean, like I speak to you here, and I'm like, probably are you?
I started living alone when I was 10 years old, so I feel like I've been given choices and to make choices and responsibility and accountability for the choices I make along the way very early on. So that made me, I think, mature and made me grow much quicker than maybe another 10-year-old and a teenager would have grown. But having the conversation just a little bit back, I had a thought when you said the loneliness, very quickly I learned, very quickly, and it's my first, rookie in artistic directorship. Very quickly I learned that we cannot carry the burden. We cannot carry the burden of someone not wanting. I have to shut it off. And few lessons, few tough ones, and you learn that very quickly. Noise is just a noise. Keep your truth, keep your clarity, and don't carry the burden.
And I think also, like in this position, especially, when we also mentioned word leadership, because I always kind of tend to see different, the manager and the leader. I think the leader is, the manager is more, maybe excels or maybe, numbers or maybe, like really shorter term thing. But the leader is the one that also, when we spoke about motivation, inspiration, I think the leader is the one that also tends more to inspire.
Yes.
Should have these. So I think that so this is where it is circling to motivate someone else because that's actually what you are maybe naturally doing and you don't even feel it.
Maybe.
But I think it's very important that part as well. So it's like like if you will not be able to, if you will only take it, everything personal, everything in you, there will come a day that who are you, like you, yourself.
That's why you have to take yourself out of equation.
Yeah.
I and myself, it's not for me. I'm not doing this for me. I'm
No.
doing this for them.
Yeah.
through me.
I think it's natural you are doing so. It's by that giving,
Giving.
but to be recognized, it will not land maybe with completely everybody, because we tend to look at life through our perspectives.
Of course.
And you know, the days that we have, the way, you know, how we have been raised in, where it's so many elements go to come together. And you know that, so for example, now you just shared, you know, like you were 10 years when you started to live. I understood correctly that you started to
In a
live on
boarding
really on,
school.
so no, a lot probably will not have that. So their starting point is already different. And this is where, you know, like, so it always will be some resonates more, some lesser, but it's about the same thing. You cannot make an army of equally, you know, same looking
No.
soldiers, but that what you want to give is in you, and you give it anyway.
Yes,
So it's just,
exactly.
you know, like, who will grab it
Yes.
and go with
But
it.
I'll give it anyway,
Is that-
despite how many people will take it, despite.
That's
And
important, yeah.
but that leadership,
Mhm.
when you say versus management, that leadership and tapping into each individual's personal perspective is something I truly care. That's why my doors are always open for a conversation in a company.
Good.
And those who have taken that advice, you know, there are artists that come and they ask and we debate and we discuss and they seek for advice, whether personal or professional, it doesn't matter. But already now, you know, if there are people already coming, I know there will be more, because it's all about seeing the change in the other. I believe in open communication, and I believe in finding solutions. And that's by talking to people regularly. That's when you find that little key and little tap into each artist's perspective, where maybe I have been suggesting the same, but they see it differently, and maybe they will be resistant to certain change, right? And you're like, I'm going and I'm thinking, okay, they're resistant today. Fine. How can I lower that resistance? You know, how can I, where else can I offer? That's the goal. And we're, let's say, here. And that's the obstacle. And we're coming to obstacle. Now, how do I overcome that to reach the goal? Because I'm not going to stop on the problem. I'm going to find a solution. So I'm going to maybe offer something else, but not for the sake of something else, for the sake of reaching that goal.
But there's, I mean, you know, like, I'm listening and I feel that, again, reflecting on my own, but I truly believe that that's the only way. Even, you know, in a plane, first of all, you know, like, you take care of mask and then you start helping others, and I think that's how it is. You got
It's the perfect one.
your mask was, you know, like, these 20 years of your experience, which is now in that mask that you can share. When your own is, you know, like, full, then it's time to pass it on to. But I would like to go a little bit back to these, when you 10 years and you are going to that boarding school. And in the beginning of our conversation, you mentioned about how important it is, you know, like, this is like such a driver, you know, that you feel you have to be in ballet, create ballet, share it. When was the moment that you realized that? Because, I mean, is it a kid of 10 already feels it? Or
I had a very difficult childhood, right? And when ballet found me, yes, ballet found me. I didn't find ballet. I didn't look for ballet at all. It just came to my life and was offered to me, and I grabbed the opportunity. And a ballet school offered me to stay in a boarding school, have food, have warmth, have bed, have education, and have a profession. I grabbed it, and I always feel that I owe to ballet to give back. And any obstacle I had, any challenge, but that's my own personal story. Again, we're all seeing it from personal experiences. For me, ballet was something that gave me life, gave me career, gave me an uh, incredible door to the open world and creative minds that I met, conductors, scenographers, and designers, and artists, and musicians, you name it, choreographers, assistants. I feel like by taking that one opportunity that was given to me when I was 9, I made myself I made myself in a knot with ballet, and I want to give it back.
Wow.
So any challenge I had, no matter how painful the experience would be, no matter how hard the challenge would be, I would always go back to my clarity and my real self, the centered self, and tap into there and say, you know what? If it's given to me, I can overcome it, because I wouldn't be where I am today if ballet wouldn't come in my life. So that's a certain my motivation was always there. I've been given ballet to live.
This is so beautifully said, and I'm like, and it is also such a personal story. But I think that's the most beautiful, like we all have our stories, and
We all do.
only they are the real thing, because in especially in an environment where so much is fake nowadays, like to have that. But I'm like thinking how strong it is, that a child at that age gets the. So actually, you got there your already opportunity, which
That
we
was my
talked,
first
your
big
first
opportunity.
and you took it already at that time. So actually, like that responsibility feeling you already started to develop at very young age. And now I also understand it even better that you danced through that career with all ups and downs and challenges and everything and monsters, as I express it, from that perspective of kind of maybe I'm wrong, but I feel a feeling of greatness.
Yes.
And greatness has so many colors, and that drove you. That's really beautiful. Because and that thing, that you feel the ballet found you.
Yes, 100%.
Very often you hear it the other way around. That people find the ballet, and that like, and they also are very passionate, and they feel they need to dance, they need to express themselves. And I also know a couple of ballerinas here in Vilnius who are also living from that perspective, and they give everything that they can. And sometimes like also maybe I can imagine it's also a profession where people are not in it, they do not understand what you give up, guys. It's like friendship sometimes.
But I wouldn't say give up. That's something I completely disagree. I think if we start seeing ballet that you have to sacrifice something,
then it's already wrong.
That's already wrong. I think if this profession, this art form to you as an artist means so much and gives you so much, not financially, not recognition, but at the core of being, who I am if I'm not a dancer? Who am I if I'm not living in this art form? I think that's a correct one.
Yeah. So maybe, like, Jurgita, what I'm thinking, it's my perspective that I think they are giving up. Because that's how I look at them, and I'm like, I'm thinking, yes, because I'm so appreciative of what they do, because I see how hard work it is, and how little sometimes understanding they have. So, okay, for example, I will share my example at work. Like sometimes it's like I have a client, and like it's more a little bit maybe more in the sport, like really harder version of. And they speak about that, and I'm like so sometimes get just a little bit friendly annoyed, and I say, let's speak about ballet. And then you see how little people like know about that. But I'm also trying to say it's almost equal as that top sport you are talking about.
Yes.
Only the recognition for these dancers is a different level. But they are, but that's my then, like I feel that they are giving a lot of.
But the recognition is coming. If you do the work that you do with integrity, and you know that you have aiming or going towards the unlocking your true potential and the real potential and a full potential, then recognition will come in one way or the other. I think every artist that at least I know that left and have done the maximum of their career, they all found a recognition or a second part of their career that is so rewarding. The rewards come, but we don't chase them. They come when we perform. But I do want, and that's part of my artistic vision as well, and I do it very diligently and openly, I open the doors. We do the open rehearsals. There is a lot of much more social media than before. We share the dancers' daily work and projects, and I want people to be seeing ballet from up close. and tap into it and try themselves, that yeah, feeling that it's there, it's magic and it's incredible when you look at the show, at the performance. But when you're on a human level, you also see the work. Uh, you don't ignore. I mean, the general bigger audience, our audience out there, that they don't ignore what it takes to be there. And maybe that's part of recognition too, because then every artist is recognized for what they do. And every artist, maybe the art form is recognized, but every artist actually is part of that recognition. Then if the art form is recognized on a more approachable level, then every artist who is part of it is also recognized because they contributed to it. They contributed to open rehearsals and media and all of that, and a day in the artist life and World Ballet class and all of that, World Ballet Day. Yeah, I'm trying to open the doors.
I think it's very important, especially in what you just mentioned, like almost everything goes open, like on social medias, there are so many channels, So I think that's where we are in nowadays. Everything is more and more transparent becoming. And I think bridging that thing, and because like, not without the reason that I mentioned, even in my environment, that sometimes I say, like, okay, and now let's talk about ballet. Because I also want them to understand that it's what it is, like, and that not everybody is the same liking that thing, but there are also people liking something else. And why do they like that? Maybe they grew up with that. Maybe they had, some dreams. Maybe, they still have. So it's there are so many things, and I think also showing that ballet dancers, they are people, as we all are. It just, they have that, maybe that gift for doing that something different and sharing with us that beauty. Because in one of our episodes, we spoke with neuroscientists, because I was very curious, like how the dance works on brain. And the answers were there. It really works and it really impacts. And I think it's not only, like, so it's like, if I was a painter and I would need to describe ballet, I would think, these are my brushes or my colors, the dancers and everything that, because without paint and brush or pencil, there will be no painting that translates.
Exactly.
Art. So it's like, here it's, for me, it's
Or
comparable.
creates beauty.
Or creates beauty.
And any art is beauty. Music is beauty. Dance is beauty. Painting is beauty. Anything is beauty.
Yes.
And we need beauty in order to thrive. And that's why art form, the one thing that AI will never overtake, because the real, alive creation here and now, in the moment, beauty that we see and gives us feeling. That's why audience comes to see ballet.
Yes.
Because they're coming for their own, they might not, how do I put it? Every audience member comes to get something. And it's up to us, or was up to me when I was a dancer, to deliver fully something that I feel. But you will see it one way, another audience member will get completely another thing. Third one will cry, a fourth one will laugh. You don't know. But they come to feed, to feed their souls with art. And we're there to deliver it. So if we have audience who feel like they can tap in a little closer, like you say, let's talk about ballet, right? The unspoken ballet.
Yes.
If they can tap in and know more of a little bit of a, saying, kitchen inside, they come with even much more appreciation.
Yes, and I think, like, it's also a rather difficult, I mean, again, maybe you will say, no, yeah, it's completely not difficult, but from my perspective, how I look in this environment where so much is fake, where everything is fast, where yesterday even with my sister, we are talking and she says, you know what, I do not have patience to watch long stories on Instagram. And I'm like, I said, I think you are already in a trouble group, and but this is like naturally, this development. So if that's the generation that comes, how you know, for them to understand art. Because, like, for example, we were not so long time ago to that annual art fair in Maastricht in the Netherlands, and it's amazing, it's beautiful, but I'm running like from one to another, you know, like through all these ages, everything that is there, from jewelry to paintings, and I enjoy it. But I'm like also thinking, I looked around, you know, like, and it's not that I'm selecting, you know, like, oh, age category, but it was a more mature community that was walking around there, and at least at that evening, which was pre-opening. And then I thought, wow, you know, yeah,
There
how
is
do
truth in it. And that's why I'm
yeah,
opening the doors to tap in to the art of ballet. Because if we raise a young generation who is a social media driven to come to the theater and spend 3 hours of their day of the social media watching, and then maybe then throughout the week or a month come to the inside rehearsal or open or a excursion in the theater and see the costume department and the stagecraft and all of this, that's already tapping into something real. And that's where I believe we raise a new generation interested in ballet. As long as we keep on raising, nurturing, and making people curious about the art form, we will build. We will build the sustainability for the arts to be alive.
yeah. And you were touching, and you know, like you were and I remember, because last year when it was 100th anniversary of with Coppelian and all the nice things that were happening here in Lithuania, there was also presentation of your book, that, you know, especially yeah, from Coppelia to Coppelia. So at that presentation, I was also sitting there, and I was like, you know, observing that element, because in my mind it was like, okay, I see here a lot of, you know, reputable people, a lot of, you know, that dedicated already their lives, from critics to dancers to like really I mean, stars from this environment over here. But then I was thinking, where is the new, and how do they do it? I almost wanted to ask that question, but I said, Eva, sometimes you just observe. Not always you need to ask. You will get the time to do that. But I was very curious, you know, like how to do it's not an easy thing.
No,
I think it's really not an easy.
and it's a long-term project. It's not, you don't raise the audience in a day.
No,
New
no.
audience. It's through generations to also pass on for, you know, us to bring our children, and for our children to be interested in ballet, and then their children, they will take their friends, and their friends will take their parents who have never seen a ballet maybe. It's a whole complex, but you have to work on it constantly. And with every generation, you have to, there has to be a change, which that's the something that people are very afraid of. And maybe because I was so adventurous and I did so many changes in my life and my career, I understood the price of a change also, but not only the price, but also rewards of the change. When there is a time of a change in a society, in politics, one cannot stagnate and work on a philosophy of this is how it was good, nothing was wrong, we're gonna stay. No, if there is a change, we need to, as an art institution, because theater has always been a place of questions, discussions, questioning ideologies and society and social norms and everything. It's always been a place of a hub. Theater is a hub that brings people together, that has to adjust to what's happening externally, worldwide. So when we're in time that we need to change a little, we must do that. We must be brave and change and say, you know what? It's fine today. It's not going to be fine tomorrow. Let's look ahead. Let's have not a tunnel vision, but a broad vision, and see, I see there might be a red flag there in 5 years. how do we make sure that it turns to green in 5, while we work? Yeah. So that's when the change is necessary. And if we see that we need to tap into the young audience and find a way to click with them, because in order to come here, they need to feel that this is relevant to them as well, that it's cool, to talk about theater, that it's cool to talk about art, that they get the recognition through the social, or that the audience, the youngsters, get the recognition that, oh, I saw, did you see? No, come, let's go again. They're gonna show that and that and that. If we provide the programming to tap into each taste and to each liking and a level of liking, then one might not come to classical ballet, one might come not to contemporary ballet, one might come actually to some experimental performance type that is different, but they will still see the same company and the theater and the ballet as an art form. So it's up to us to feed that different.
Yes. So that's exactly very nice turn that you took, because that's what I also think. That's probably an option. But I'm also thinking about, I am as a guest, because I'm not a dance nobody in this, just like living my dream. But I am thinking, if I was a teenager at the moment, and I would want to be different than my other, classmates, or like friends around me, how do I differentiate myself? Like, is it only on, because Instagram is full of the same, like we all are born different, but then we somehow turn into the same dressed people, the same standing, the same position, everything is, and I'm like, but this maybe that's what could make me different and differentiate. I am going to theater, I am discovering art, and I am fitting which one suits me the best, the modern, the classic, the like the in between, what you mentioned. That's it. But the fact that I want already to try it, because I think that makes me different than a lot of others, this is my motivator, like could be. I think it
cool
is
to go to the theater. It's cool to go to a symphonic orchestra and listen the art that was created centuries ago, and see ballets that were created centuries ago. I think it's amazing.
I also think so, and I think we should also maybe some examples. Sometimes I love music also. I mean, by me, I cannot concentrate if there is no background music. I will always work only with the music at background. But then sometimes I run into these new things, and I discover, and even the artists of our days, musicians like DJs, the famous names that teenagers really love absolutely, and apparently understand everything what they create, they use Vivaldi as to create something very new and modern. And this is what I'm trying to say. So if I am about the DJ and that, kind of speaks to me, this is the bridge. The DJ is bridging me, because in the Netherlands, yeah, and I know that you also live there. So for me, it's very easy now maybe to Ciardi, piano player. I mean, amazing, love. But how he connects, these worlds, he does it brilliantly. I mean, in my opinion, in my view.
And there are many artists.
Because in the Netherlands, and I don't know if your time or not, but Don Quixote, when there was, but because they were taking also some players like famous from
Yes,
yeah.
from the
But that
theater.
was
Yes,
like
yes,
fun
yes.
for these people who are maybe not so much into technical ballet elements and that beauty, but they discover this element.
Classique. It makes you stop and think and find something what ticks you, what makes you, what inspires you.
Yeah. And I think at that age, as when we are teenagers, it's like it's the moment where we discover world, and we can do so many. It's like there is so many still opportunities to go back and to do something from the beginning. Even at a later age, you still can start from, and still can start discovering. So I think it's. I encourage really if the one who will watch and they never like I want, but like maybe it's not. It's really done. It's really done to go and to try And I think to see this and to let be inspired. And about inspirations and about that environment, I don't know, somehow I also thought about when we talked about more discipline and things, and giving up versus not giving up, these perspectives. I'm thinking, oh, they give so much up, you say no, but that's like we are, it's our living. But I don't know if you saw that documentary in the Netherlands, which we had, Bloed, Zweet en Tranen.
Yes, yes, it was filmed while I was still there in the company. Yes, yes.
Oh, it was like, for me, that's where, like I was watching with these big eyes and I was like, this is where I got
Blood,
that.
Sweat and Tears, I think
Yes,
it was
blood,
called,
sweat,
right?
and tears. And there was that one dancer. He had so many surgeries. I don't remember his name now, but I think he was originally from Russia, coming to play in Netherlands. So many surgeries, like, but he was still going on stage.
Going. And that's when, even in Netherlands and Dutch National Ballet, when I was there, it just started the strength training.
Okay.
It was just the very beginning of it. We had Pilates reformers and kind of a gym build, but it was not in-house trainers, so I sourced mine from an ex-dancer outside. But that was the pivotal time when there was a realization that, oh, we need to invest in this. We need to build a proper gym. We need to gather data on injuries, on recovery, on career's longevity. So, yes, those series opened doors to a kind of realization as well that what can be done better. So dancers do have less surgeries. So dancers do have a longer careers. So dancers are in a less pain.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But that's actually that documentary. Okay, I'm already loving ballet, so that's maybe for me. But that I was like waiting every week to see that because I loved it. But what was also why I loved it in two ways. So to see closer, be closer to what is really happening behind the stages, on the stage as well. But also they were filming at home with ballet dancers. So they were following their personal stories as well.
We had a very similar project, similar but different. It was supposed to start as a series first, a swan song on Karen Kane's retirement and creating a new Swan Lake for the company, National Ballet of Canada. And it ended up into a documentary movie. So it was and series, also following dancers at home, their journeys, their background. But then it was so good, it ended up being a movie actually. And
but is it like something like that possible in Lithuania, or we are not ready for?
I don't know.
But I think it would be really beautiful because
Something
there
we
are
can think about and look into. But it requires a lot.
It requires,
It requires a lot. I was part of those series. It requires trust and openness. It does not project what it should if it's done for commercial purpose. It should take away commercial purpose and purely concentrate on what actually is. And it's very difficult to do. It's not that easy because, oh, it's just camera following. No. People behave differently once there is a camera and it becomes not real. So it takes time to bond with the director, the film director or a series director, and let them in your private space in order to truly reflect it. So it's a very possible project, and I think it would be a really good one for the company, something for the future. But it takes time to build that trust.
It always connects faster because you start. I don't know. You start recognizing that. For me, I came closer to them somehow. not that I was already far away because I was going to their performances, but now I also saw that that they have families, they have also kids, and I was thought, ballet dancer kids.
Yes, we have kids.
Yeah, yeah. You
It's a
also,
choice. It's a choice.
but it can be.
Yes.
And and for me it was like, oh, and they also need to plan holidays, and they need to plan school, and they need to plan all these things which my colleagues or my friends in their not ballet lives are doing.
Activities,
Yeah,
when they're sick,
yeah.
and
So,
days off.
yes,
Yes,
but but
it's a puzzle. Yeah, having children was also a very big taboo in kind of unspoken in
this is
ballet
one of
world, and yeah, it's okay. You don't have to sacrifice anything. Like again, I never felt I sacrificed my career in order to have children, or I don't feel I sacrificed my time with the children in order to do the performances. It has become a life that you create, that I create, or individual creates.
yeah.
It's part of your life, and they're seeing that life, which is an incredible part for me. I always wanted my children to see the dedication, resilience, the discipline, the reward, the behind the scenes, the audience, I wanted them to see, to understand and respect what your parents do. So never did I feel that it's a sacrifice, that I should give up a family, or should have given up a ballet one for another. I think any job is long hours, and in ballet especially, of late night of shows, and but you still find time. Yes, you need a very good planning. You have to be a good planner in order to make sure that everything is uh, in place at the same time, at the right time, and think about them, about you, about the show, about preparation, about hobbies, about food, about daycares, and the teacher meetings, and like birthdays times three. But it's possible. It's
Is.
possible.
Yeah.
I mean, I always looked at my mom who raised us alone, and I'm like, it was possible. It's
It is.
it's impossible only until the point that you try. Until you don't try, many things feel impossible. And then you try and you're like, oh, actually, it's okay. I'm still doing my job, and I'm doing it at a high level, and I go train. My oldest was going with me to the gym. Actually, it instilled in him love for training and sports. Great. He was doing with me the exercises, and watching the shows in the wings, and asking me about the story and Swan Lake and Madge and in Sylphide and other characters. And my little ones are coming to the shows here, almost every Enchanted Eyes and every Snow White, and they love it. And they keep on asking, when are we gonna go to your work? They love it. So, and I get to spend time with them
Yeah.
while I'm at work.
Yeah. So and this is what is like beautiful, that it does not stop you from having also your personal life, your personal interest in that what already big part of your life is, it's ballet. But like if you also feel that you have these family instincts and you need it, you can combine it, and
No, but I was,
it's just not scared.
there was a little scare, but I'm very
Normal.
persistent and determined person. And when I got pregnant with my first pregnancy, there were talks. Oh, your career is over. You're too young. You just started. You're guesting everywhere worldwide. Why, kid? Why do you need a child? And I'm like, I'll be back stronger than I was, and more richer inside. And that's going to be a life experience that I want to have. And I want to have a kid. And I don't think it's going to ruin my career. And it didn't.
No,
I returned. I kept on dancing. Damien, my oldest, was traveling the world with me, and Japan and everywhere else, and Italy. And you know what? He's so open to the world, and he's seen so much that even more. I mean, I don't say I regret. I never regret it. But there was a planted seed of, of that fear in me, that like, oh, you're too young. Why? You're on top of your game. Why now at the peak of your career? I'm like, that's exactly why. Because I've built my repertoire. I'm principal. I'm at the top of my career. I'm going to have a child and I'll continue. And then I'm going to have a second and I'll continue. And I'm going to have a third and I'll continue.
And you still
and
continue.
and I still continue.
And you are not unstoppable, still.
No, but it's a mindset.
Yeah.
It's a mindset, resilience, and it's all in the head. Everything feels impossible. Even when you tell a little children, here you go, a lifetime example. We have to go until there. Oh, mom, it's so far away. It's impossible. It's gonna take so long. Until you start walking. You start walking, you start seeing nice things along the way while you're on a journey, and you reach a destination and they turn and say, that was a really fun walk. Yeah. Here you go. Yeah. So even for a child, the little ones, 3, 5 years old, they see things as impossible until they try. And the next time you offer them a walk, yes, mom, let's go on a walk. And we're going to stop and we're going to have a picnic. And it's just about taking the opportunity and, without fear.
Yeah.
Don't live with fear. It's not worth it.
No. No, absolutely not.
And don't sacrifice things for fear.
No.
If you try and you don't succeed, that's another thing.
That's different.
Then you learn.
Yes. Yeah.
But to stop yourself from going somewhere or being someone just because out of fear, I disagree.
I also disagree because it's also often created fear. So it's not even a real thing. It's not a real thing.
And we create fears every day.
Yeah.
Again.
And the only known in life is unknown.
That's a good one.
And to discover what it can bring us, it's by trying, but not by being scared.
Yes.
Because the fear does not exist.
We create.
We create. And sometimes, like when we create something, we can see it. And here it's nothing. It's like, it's not even, like that you can see it's in this shape or it's in that shape or it's, sounds like that in the
or
music.
others create fear for us.
It can also
That's
be.
another. It's either self-inflicted or others create fear. So until you don't try and you don't know that it's true to yourself, to you, not to somebody else, it's a noise.
Yeah. So, Jurgita, I'm thinking with this like really very beautiful kind of, coming to the closure of our meeting. What is the highlight of your entire career, including this, like where you said you are still a rookie, but I think, like really developing good and doing great stuff, because just in 1 year time, a lot has been implemented. The program is also very interesting, and I'm already, like preparing for May visit because of the premiere that you are going
World
to.
premiere of Paquita.
Yeah.
That's my first commission, and I'm really genuinely excited about it. Have a fantastic creative team. Manuel Legri as a choreographer, and Jean-Marc Poussin as a costume and stage designer. I have Maria Selecka as a musical director. That we have a bond for almost 30 years now. We know each other, and she's been a ballerina herself. And my costume designer, she's done a lot of tutus that I was guesting worldwide. And then she turned to change her career to a musical director. Anyway, a phenomenal woman, inspirational. So the team really esteemed high professionals, a team of the high professionals, and bringing a Paquita, that a story that is not much done. That's why I also chose it. It's something that hasn't been changed or done or restaged a lot. It really feels like it's amazing though. The job of the artistic director it comes with so much responsibility and challenges. But when you see this world premieres being born from just the idea of commissioning and making that first phone call, coming to reality and starting taking shape is it's really inspiring. So I'm really looking forward to it. Really. But the highlight of entire career, I don't know. I really don't know. There has been so many moments that have one thing led to another, and then as soon as you think, oh my God, if I do this, that's gonna be my career highlight, and you do it, and you wake up the next morning and you go back to the bar to do your Bat Mountain Dews, a moment passes. It's a moment that you cannot stop, the moments you cannot behold. It's a living art form. Every performance lives as long as you dance it. As soon as the curtain closes, a week later, a month later, 10 years later, it's a memory that it was, and more of a feeling that you get by remembering it. But it's a building blocks. So I think just in general transitioning to the life of the artistic director, I would mark that probably, that transition, because everything I've ever built over those years as a ballerina made sense when I transitioned. Until then, it just kept on going from one thing to another, from one to another, experiences, moments that again, you cannot stop. It just goes. And sometimes you wish to stop it and say, well, I wish the curtain wouldn't close today because it was so good, you know, to be there, to give yourself fully on stage and live. And then there is no other way but the curtain to close. That's just the way it is. And then it passes. So I think that's the most painful moment actually of a ballerina for me, is to wake up the next morning and go back at the bar and just remember. And then those memories, and you're like, where is this leading? Where am I living? Like, where is this leading? What's the meaning? What's the purpose?
You know, it's hard to not become emotional when I see, you know, how energized, you know, how shining you are, and you're telling this. And I wish, you know, cameras one day can really translate the feeling as well, you know, the atmosphere that we have here, because it's incredible. And I think it's really beautiful how you found yourself in that new, you know, emploi, that new environment, and how you are creating and building. And but you will still be, I will still remember you as one of my favorite Giselles, really.
Oh, thank you.
If not the best, then really one of them. And I know that maybe I'm wrong, but I maybe sense that it also meant something to you, that role of Giselle, because it was your last, definitely, but wasn't it also your first real big on stage or not? Like there is.
My first principal role was Nikia in Royal Swedish Ballet. But before my first principal role in the house, I went to guest with Giselle. And that was unofficial first principal role. It was I was still not a principal ballerina, I was a soloist or a second soloist. And I took on the challenge. I was invited to do Giselle. And so that was the real first step into it. But, you know, it was a tester, a try. I wasn't guided to do Giselle the way that it has to be done.
Yeah,
so I danced it. But that was one of the things that I said, if ballet feels that way on stage, why am I doing ballet? Certain roles start from steps and technical points. Giselle is not. It starts with the essence. And I think that's why it has become my favorite role, one of the favorites after all. And throughout the years, if you don't surround yourself as an essence, you almost cannot execute the steps. They make no sense. They feel unmusical, they feel stiff, they feel stuck. I mean, imagine standing like this for like 8 counts and doing nothing. Like if you don't have essence and the repetiteur or someone who guides you does not explain that Giselle is a one role, probably maybe Smalling is a similar one. But Giselle is if you don't bring first and foremost your soul into it and the essence of what it is, ballet doesn't evolve. It's 1 week passes, 2 week passes, 3 weeks pass, and you still don't understand why am I just doing 2 steps and standing there for 8 counts? And that's not how it should feel, but you don't find the key of how it should feel. So that's something that I'll now transition. After I transition to my next step, I do talk about these things with the artist early enough, artists that I work with, because ballet is not 8 counts, 6 counts. Yes, it's turnout. Yes, it's athletes, but let's add that, essence.
And I think that's what, like when I go to ballet performance, I look at that other side. Because, technically, I can sometimes, also even forgive, sometimes you see,
Yeah,
oh,
sometimes
music
doesn't
goes
work.
this way or, something too fast. But it's not about that. It's about, like you look at the expressions, the feeling, that what you say. And that's why I didn't know this first one, so now thank you for sharing it.
Oh, it
But
taught me a lot.
but now I understand why, the Giselle that you created later, the one that I refer to, it was so beautiful. Because that one, you cannot dance without feeling and understanding what the character translates and what it brings. Because I think it's one of these more complex characters in
It's
general
very
classic.
complicated,
Yeah,
very, very, and so layered and so true.
yeah,
And you really have to, there's a word, but not undress yourself really.
yeah,
Like just strip all the layers of pretentiousness and pretending and what you think looks good because it doesn't work. Giselle doesn't work. You
no,
just have to strip everything and be brave to
yeah,
look inside yourself and deliver.
yeah. Because I think it goes with the character. It belongs to that character
Yes,
already. Because that's how she,
that's how
has,
she was.
yes, overwin.
Mhm.
That's what average will not be able to, probably not immediately.
Not
The
immediately.
pain, the everything that you were put through, and still overwin, and then want to
Yeah, and still forgive. And still
forgiveness.
forgive.
Yeah,
It's about forgiveness.
yeah,
It's
but
about
in the
forgiveness.
highest possible
Way.
way of,
Absolutely.
yeah,
That's where the tools come in. Somebody has to give you those tools. Rarely artists can say, me, I found it. No, there are always people around that give you those opportunities and tools for you to create, to find. It's not, we cannot do this profession alone.
And this is another beautiful, what I hear you saying, asking for help, which we sometimes, it's like so often, but you don't do it. It's so scary to ask for help. It's not done, like what I will show that I cannot do something. No,
You don't find if you don't look
no,
or you don't ask.
no. So I think,
You
like,
get stuck.
yes. So if, and maybe that's a nice one to summarize our pleasant meeting is, don't get scared of something that is created that you do not even understand what it is. Do not allow someone else to scare you with something that they also do not know what
Yeah.
they try to scare you with. Notice open doors. Do not be afraid and shy away to enter these rooms that are opening or to ask for help.
Yes.
I think that's what I'm taking in my pocket.
I'm really working towards molding the company and having its identity and having exclusivity also and having these world premieres that later on in life can be taken by other theaters. So it's not just that we bring what's the best out there, it's that actually we create what's going to be the best out there. And having a co-productions and that we are also a creative hub because we can.
And with this one, really, thank you so much because this is it. That's the creative hub, and this is what inspires a lot of people. Or if it didn't, I think, the younger generation, they want to make a difference. And where does difference start? Creativity.
Creativity.
And being, in an environment that allows you to put that creativity to reality. Thank you so much,
Thank you, Yara.
Jurgita. Thank you very much. And
it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you.
And for me to listen and to share, what we have and what the future will bring.
See you at the theater.
Definitely.